a time to be alive, ladies and gentlemen. This is the droid we are looking for, C-3PO. That's right, as the title says, you can finally auto solo the entire heroic AAT Raid. We've come a long way in the AAT Raid, and I'm going to show you 2 ways to auto the Sith Raid with C-3PO, with the Finn lead, which I prefer and is super easy to do, and Jedi Training Rey as well if you want to use it. But Finn lead with the Zeta is by far the best way to go about it. Super easy from the testing I've done the past few weeks. And in case you guys were wondering, this is not going to get patched or fixed by Capital Games. They made a comment on Reddit and basically said, nope, the AAT Raid, it's free reign. Whatever happens, happens in there. So this is definitely 100% possible, and it's not going to get patched anytime soon from what the developers have said. So the first team we're going to talk about is the Finn Zeta Team. This is the one that people thought was going to get patched because it's almost an infinite loop, but as I showed you guys, Top Hat says they have no intention of patching this. So this is pretty much, it's good. This is going to be the new best team for the AAT Raid. It consists of a Finn Zeta. The Zeta is mandatory. If you want to make this work, you don't have to have Finn geared up all the way. And afterwards, you need C-3PO. That's also the mandatory character. You don't really need the Zetas for C-3PO in the HAAT Raid, which is nice. And then BB-8 is preferred, but if you want, you can use the Ewok Scout. I'll talk about that in a second. And then Commander Luke Skywalker and Han Solo are pretty much mandatory for this team to work as well. And if for some reason you don't have BB-8 for this Finn lineup, then you can try Ewok Scout, because Ewok Scout, just like the Rebels, they also can apply expose on their basic through C-3PO, but BB-8 makes it so much easier, getting a lot more damage output on the team. He counters, he applies daze, and it's just a lot better. But if you don't have BB-8 for some reason, Ewok Scout, from what I heard, gets the job done. But guys, if you have BB-8, make sure you use him. So really, the only Zetas you need to make this work is Finn Zeta, that's mandatory, BB-8 Zeta with roll up the punches, that is preferred, so that way you can call more resistance people to attack out of turn. And I highly recommend Han Solo's shoots first Zeta, so that way Han Solo can attack twice on his basic, because the basic is going to be very important for our Rebels. Let's talk about why C-3PO can help you solo this raid, and then it kind of will help you understand why we're able to auto this whole entire process. So the reason why C-3PO is necessary and the Finn Zeta is necessary, because there's a lot of exposed synergy going on here. As you know, Resistance has a lot of exposes, and with C-3PO, because of his unique abilities, when a Rebel is using their basic attack, they're applying expose. So Han Solo, he'll apply 2 exposes, and through the process, he's going to hit one of those. And as you know, with the Finn Zeta, every time exposes are being hit, they're getting a Resistance, are getting a bunch of turn meter, and they're constantly reducing their cooldown. So that way C-3PO can constantly use his mass assist ability over and over again and calling everyone to assist. And Commander Luke Skywalker also applies expose on his basics, so it's just expose mayhem. BB-8 is fueling all this turn meter and a lot of buffs to the team and calling people to attack out of turn. So that's pretty much why the Finn Zeta is awesome, because after phase 2, you literally can just put it on auto, walk away, and you'll be lucky if the raid bosses ever get to take a turn, because you have so much turn meter being fed to your team through Finn Zeta and all the exposes going on in the background. And then Han Solo and Commander Luke Skywalker's purpose, as I alluded to already, they apply expose on their basic through C-3PO, so that helps the Finn and the Resistance characters reduce their cooldowns, get a lot of extra turns and a lot of turn meter. But also, Commander Luke Skywalker can remove 100% turn meter, which is very nice. And Han Solo, besides his massive amount of damage and all the exposes on his basic through C-3PO, his basic also can remove turn meter. If the raid boss is getting too much turn meter, you can back up that turn meter a little bit, for example, on the phase 3 boss or General Grievous. Now, people said you don't have to use mods for this Finn team. I've seen footage of it, but I think it's recommended you put mods on, and especially just damage, offense, all that stuff. Critical damage, critical chance, offense. Those are the mods you want to focus on this team. And then C-3PO, worry about him just being very quick. You just want to get all this damage out there. Potency, not really an issue. So critical damage, critical chance, and offense mods are the way to go. But if you like to live life on the edge for some reason and don't do mods, it definitely works after phase 2. But phase 1 is going to be the tricky part. So with phase 1 kind of being our topic right there, let's start transitioning to the actual strategy once you get into the phases. So phase 1 is going to be the tricky phase. Once you get beyond phase 1, it's literally hit auto and go. So phase 1, the trick is you want to get confusion and daze on all of the minions by General Grievous, because if you have daze, you prevent Terminator, and if you have confusion, 1 stack in confusion prevents the buff, so they won't taunt. 2 stacks prevents bonus Terminator, all that other stuff. And in phase 3, or the third step of confusion, increases cooldowns when C-3PO is using his basic ability. So with that in mind, once you have all the confusions and dazes, you can technically hit auto and start focusing on only General Grievous, and the droids on the side should never take a turn, and they shouldn't get any taunts. Now in the footage I'm showing you, I had some bad luck and I had to take out a few of the droids because there was no way around them, or I didn't get the dazes to apply. But even with the bad phase 1 run, I was able to make it through. We did get to Enrage, but we were able to still finish phase 1, the transition to phase 2. So phase 1 requires some setup, but once you get it, you can hit auto, and then I would recommend paying attention to make sure that you're gonna be able to clear phase 1. But once you get past phase 1, really, it's easy peasy lemon squeezy from there. But once you get to phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, literally, all you gotta do, you can either do it manually, or hopefully the AI is gonna be smart enough and eventually topple the tank, but you wanna take down all the turrets, whatever order you prefer, and once the tank is down, literally, just hit auto, and the tank might stand up for 1 turn, and that's it. You should have no risk of going to Enrage for the rest of these phases. So literally just hit auto, profit, go make yourself a sandwich. Your computer, if you're playing on the emulator, it's gonna do its thing. Take some phone calls, I don't know, go save the world during the time you're clearing phase 2. And if the tank does happen to take a turn, either let the AI or you manually just take down the turrets, let the tank topple again, hit auto, let it do its thing. And now let's move into phase 3, because it's pretty easy from phase 2. Now phase 3 is also pretty easy, just a little tiny setup. All you have to do is make sure everyone has a stack of translation, just 1, because when C-3PO uses his special ability, oh my goodness, he calls everyone with the stack of translation to assist. You want to make sure everyone's being called to assist, so just to be on the safe side, give everyone 1 stack of translation, put it on auto, focus on the main boss. You don't even have to worry about the droids on the side. And again, you might be lucky. The raid boss in phase 3, they might take a turn, but overall, just hit auto, and phase 3 should clear it pretty easily. And then phase 4 is pretty much the same thing as phase 2, except this time you have the 2 B2 battle droids. So pretty much take out the battle droids, take out the turrets, then the tank is gonna fall, hit auto. I mean, you could have hit auto a while ago. I mean, the AI, even if you fully auto it, the AI will eventually knock all these things down. But if you just wanna make sure you're speeding up the process and not have any mistakes, it's just best to manually target all those individual things. And once the tank is down, auto, and the tank might stand up for 1 turn, but again, if the tank happens to stand out, take out the droids, take out the turrets, tank will fall. At most, it seems like they might stand up 2, maybe 3 times, but you're never gonna get close to Enrage from phase 2 to phase 4. And I mean, that's pretty much it with the Finn Zeta Elite. It is crazy. That was my first try. The footage you're seeing, I literally just went in, tried it, and it worked. There's really not a lot to it. Phase 1 might cause you some difficulty, and if you can't clear phase 1, just back out, wait till phase 2 and auto it all the way through. But phase 1, it's about 50% audible, and then the rest is almost 100% audible at that time. It's crazy to see how far we've come. The AAT Raid had that policy where you can't do infinite loops. Now it's free reign. This is going to stay in place, as the developer said. But if for some reason you don't have the Finn, you don't have Finn Zeta, you could try Jedi Training Rey, but if you have Jedi Training Rey, chances are you have Finn, because Finn's needed to unlock Jedi Training Rey. But for whatever reason, let's say you don't have Commander Luke Skywalker and Han Solo, and you have Jedi Training Rey, then you can do Jedi Training Rey with BB-8, R2-D2, C-3PO, and Resistance Trooper, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, but I haven't had as much success as the Finn team we just talked about. So Jedi Training Rey, with this lineup, you're pretty much running a full Resistance droid lineup, and here the Zeta on Jedi Training Rey's leadership inspirational presence is 100% necessary, because you need to make sure you're constantly applying all the exposes. Again, kind of like Finn, there's exposed synergy going on, but when they're using a special ability, when a Resistance ally is using a special ability and an enemy is exposed, you get to remove 5% Terminator from them, which can't be evaded or resisted. So that's why this is important, because you're going to apply a lot of exposes, and especially on the minions, you want to make sure you're removing Terminator, or if it's on Grievous, you can remove some Terminator if he has exposed. The only problem with this is that you don't get into that infinite loop territory. Eventually, the tank or Grievous or the phase 3 boss, they're going to constantly stand up. And I get close to getting to enrage a few times, which is why I don't 100% recommend Jedi Training Rey and this type of lineup. And the strategy is pretty much the same. In phase 1, you want to make sure you're applying daze to all of the minions on the side and get also confusion on the minions as well, so they're not getting taunts and all that stuff. And then you can just go full auto on General Grievous. But my first time around, I tried Jedi Training Rey once and Finn once in 2 separate AAT runs. Jedi Training Rey, I wasn't able to fully clear phase 1. I ran into a problem, lost Resistance Trooper. From what I've seen, it is possible, but it's a lot harder to clear through phase 1 with Jedi Training Rey, unlike Finn. But again, if you can't get through phase 1, the luck isn't there for you, or maybe your mods just aren't right, you can go into phase 2, and that's when things get a little bit easier. And speaking of mods, kind of like the Finn team, you really just want to mod for critical damage and offense. You're going to get a lot of turn meter, you're going to remove some turn meter from the enemy, you're going to get a lot of attacks out there, and you want to make sure you're getting the most damage out possible, mainly from Jedi Training Rey and Resistance Trooper in this particular lineup. And then phase 2 kind of follows the same logic as Finn, just you're not going to keep the tank down as long. What you're going to do is knock down the turrets, and you're going to get a lot of attacks out there before the tank finally stands up, but the tank will stand up way more often than the Finn team, because the Finn team, it just has so much turn meter being fueled through the leadership, versus Jedi Training Rey doesn't grant her team really all that much turn meter compared to the Finn team. But phase 2 shouldn't be much of a problem. I kind of went through it with no issues at all, but then phase 3, that could get tricky, and I've done the Jedi Training Rey lineup, and this is where I lost my Resistance Trooper towards the end of phase 3 because I got to enrage and he couldn't survive the onslaught from the B1 and B2 battle droids. Now with phase 3, the strategy isn't all that insane, but it's pretty simple. I mean, R2 is going to spam his AoE, most likely destroy all the minion droids, and then you're going to get exposed, remove turn meter, and you can put it on auto, but I have noticed that on auto, there's a good chance in this phase that you're going to get to enrage because you're not getting a ton of turn meter like the Finn team, and I lost my Resistance Trooper. I was still able to finish the rest of the raid, but without Resistance Trooper, it's a lot more difficult, mainly because on auto, you're not calling C-3PO to assist all the time through Jedi Training Rey, and when you're calling C-3PO to assist, he's removing turn meter on his basic ability. So you might not fully clear this on auto. If like me, you might run into some trouble, but you can still do it even when you get to enrage. But just be wary that on auto, there's a good chance that the AI might mess up and you'll get to enrage and you might lose someone. And phase 4, kind of like phase 2, it's pretty easy. You just take down the droids, or if anything, put daze on the droids. Don't even bother with them. Take down the turrets. Then once the tank falls, you take all of your turns. And even without my Resistance Trooper, I still was able to clear phase 4. So it's a really cool strategy, but again, I've recommended Finn Zeta a lot in the past here. He was already pretty good in the AAT raid in the past as well, but this right here, the Finn Zeta and all these other guys behind him being able to 85 to 90% auto the AAT raid and pretty much never let the raid bosses take a turn, it's insane. It's really insane. So if you had both of the options and you want the easiest path possible, 100% recommend the Finn Zeta, because it's just out of this world amazing how simple it is, especially phase 1 between Jedi Training Rey and Finn. It's a lot easier with Finn than Jedi Training Rey. Well, that's gonna be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. The golden standard, the best heroic AA team, auto/soloing team we got to this date. And let me know down below what your thoughts are on this team, and be sure to like the video and subscribe so you're not missing a thing. And until the next video. Working as intended, go and do your homework. But first, let's get back to that rework. Rework, Grievous, rework, Grievous. CG, get your act together and rework, Grievous, rework, Grievous, rework, Grievous. Come on, CG, don't make me pray to Jesus. Rework.